All right, let's dive into something that's a massive step forward for the decentralized web. Today, we're going to see how two really powerful technologies, Bitcoin Cash and IPFS, that's the Interplanetary File System, are being put together to create a complete, full-stack solution for Web3.
So to really get where we're going, we first have to understand where we are right now. The existing Bitcoin Cash stack is an absolute powerhouse for handling value. We're talking money and state, which is things like tokens and NFTs. But it's got one critical limitation. There's just no built-in way to store the actual content. The files, the images, the media that actually make up the web, that part's been missing.
So the challenge becomes pretty clear, right? How do you connect a system that's built for verifying value with a system that's built for storing data? You've got to find a really elegant way to build a bridge between these two separate, decentralized worlds.
Now this is where it gets really interesting because look at how perfectly these two systems fit together. It's like they were made for each other. Think of Bitcoin Cash as the ledger, the source of truth, and IPFS as the distributed hard drive. BCH has the native crypto for payments, but it can only store these tiny little pointers to data. On the other hand, IPFS can store files of any size you can imagine, but it doesn't have a payment layer. Each one has exactly what the other one is missing. It's just a perfect match.
And this visual just perfectly illustrates the solution, a protocol bridge. It's an architecture called the PSF File Penning Protocol. And what it does is connect that world of value, BCH, with the world of data, IPFS. It creates this seamless flow, allowing you to pay for truly decentralized storage.
Okay, so we've got the concept of a protocol bridge, which sounds cool, but how does it actually work? Let's get into the nuts and bolts and break down the mechanics of how you actually pay to store a file on this network.
Okay, so at its very core, the protocol creates a permissionless marketplace. A user pays to get their data stored, and a whole decentralized network of hosts provides that storage. The targets here are super clear. We're aiming for a cost of about 1 US cent per megabyte, a 1-year hosting guarantee that you can renew, and a capacity of up to 100 megabytes per file.
Now, for a user, it's actually a pretty simple three-part process. First, you upload your file to IPFS. That gives you a unique content ID, or a CID. Second, you make a payment on the Bitcoin Cash blockchain using something called a proof of burn transaction. And finally, you broadcast a PIN claim, which is just a tiny piece of data inside a transaction that links your payment to your file's unique ID.
The second that claim hits the blockchain, this automatic network just kicks right into gear. You've got independent hosting services that are constantly scanning the chain, looking for these claims. When one pops up, the service automatically validates that enough tokens were burned for the file size, it downloads the file using its ID, and if everything checks out, it pins it, basically committing to store it locally.
And here's the crucial part. You've got to understand this. There is no master server, no central point of control, no single company running the show. It's just like how Bitcoin nodes all independently validate transactions. These pinning nodes independently validate the claims and store the data. What you get is this powerful, redundant, and seriously censorship-resistant global network for storing files.
Okay, this all sounds fantastic, but what makes it all work? What's the incentive for people to actually run these pinning services? Well, that brings us to the really clever economic model that makes this whole permissionless system possible.
And that brings up a really good question. I mean, in the normal web, you just pay a company, right? Like Amazon or Google. But here, you're not paying anyone directly. You're actually verifiably destroying or burning tokens. So why do it this way?
Well, the logic is twofold, and it's really powerful. First, for users, it means access is completely permissionless. You don't need an account, you don't need an API key, anybody, anywhere can do it. And second, for the network itself, burning tokens actually reduces the total supply. This captures value for everyone who holds the token and helps fund the whole ecosystem. It's a completely decentralized incentive model for a decentralized service. It's beautiful.
And the price point for this service? It's designed to be extremely competitive. The target is about 1 cent per megabyte for 1 full year of guaranteed, redundant, decentralized storage. Just think about that.
So that brings us back to the big picture, the completed Cash Stack. Now that we've added this robust, decentralized content layer, what does this actually let us do? What new things are possible?
The applications are just fascinating. For creators, you can now monetize your content without any risk of being deplatformed. For developers, you can build truly unstoppable applications on a full JavaScript stack. We're even talking about AI agents being able to access storage and payments without needing a human or a bank account. And for businesses, you can use it for things like super low-cost decentralized audits or tracking things on supply chain.
This also just fundamentally upgrades what a token can even be. It's not just a number on a spreadsheet anymore. As you can see here, a token becomes this rich, layered digital asset. You have the core data on-chain, an immutable data layer on IPFS for things that should never ever change, and then a mutable data layer, also on IPFS, for information that might need to be updated over time.
And here it is, the final picture. The whole shebang. A full-stack, decentralized web architecture. You've got the blockchain infrastructure at the very bottom, the protocol layer for tokens and file pinning, then the data and communication layer with IPFS, and finally the application layer on top. Every single piece is now in place.
So what's the ultimate takeaway from all of this? The system now provides solutions for money, for tokens, for data, and for communication. But the single most important property they all share is this. They are all completely 100% permissionless. The CashStack is officially open for business. So the only question that's left is, what are you going to build with it?